Are you racist?
I'm not.
How do you consider yourself to be privileged if you consider yourself to be privileged?
I tend to not consider myself privileged, just basically everybody's equal.
Do you believe in affirmative action?
No, I do not.
Do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and that people should be colorblind to race?
Definitely, I don't think, even in my question, color should be a kind of an aspect in judgment or anything like that.
Do you believe that people of color have the right to be angry with Trump supporters?
Hell yeah, I do.
What is privilege?
Privilege is being treated better than someone else who's your equal.
How do you consider yourself to be privileged if you consider yourself to be privileged?
I mean, just that I'm getting a college education kind of makes me feel like I'm privileged.
Do you believe in affirmative action?
Yes.
Do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and people should be colorblind to race?
I don't know about colorblind to race, but yes, equal.
Do you believe that people of color have the right to be angry with Trump supporters?
Yes.
Are you racist?
Not at all.
What is privilege?
So privilege isn't about giving special abilities and special opportunities, but it's about not having to worry about certain things. So privilege is having the ability to walk through a dark alley and not be harmed, not be worried about being sexually assaulted. Or privilege is having the ability to go in a store and not have to worry about being followed because of your race or ethnic background.
How do you consider yourself to be privileged if you consider yourself to be privileged?
I have male and heterosexual privilege, right? So I don't ever have to worry about me marrying a woman, that right being infringed upon, right? I don't have to worry or think through being sexually assaulted, since sexual assault rarely happens to men.
Do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and people should be colorblind to race?
No, I don't think all people should be seen as equal, but I think it's more important to treat people as equals, right? So saying somebody's equal is completely different than structuring society in a manner that treats everyone equal. And being colorblind, one does a disservice, right? Because I'm black and I'm proud to be black. And to tell me that you don't know that I'm black takes away from my history, from my culture, who I am as an individual. And it doesn't allow us to fix racial issues if we don't see color.
Are you racist?
No.
What is privilege?
Privilege is both covert and overt sort of advantages that certain people have access to.
How do you consider yourself to be privileged?
I am privileged because I am a cisgendered white male, and thus that gives me that excuse me from certain disadvantages and also opens the door to other advantages.
Do you
Believe that all people should be seen as equal and people should be colorblind to race?
Equal, yes. Colorblind, no.
Do you believe that people of color have the right to be angry with Trump supporters?
Yes.
Are you racist?
In some respects, yes, but I'm trying to make myself better.
What is privilege?
Privilege is simply the state of having an advantage that somebody else doesn't. That can be systemic or, it can be chance.
How do you consider yourself to be privileged?
Like I'm passed for white, I'm male, I'm working class, which does put me at somewhat of a disadvantage, but advantage compared to like poverty level. I'm educated, and I live in the United States as opposed to, say, Greece in its current economy.
Do you believe in affirmative action?
Yes.
Do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and people should be colorblind to race?
Equal, yes. I do not believe in colorblindness because refusing to address racism is just as bad as supporting it.
Do you believe that people of color have the right to be angry with Trump supporters?
Yes.
Are you racist?
No.
What is privilege?
Privilege is growing up and having a lot of things and living a lifestyle that, you know, is pretty nice and kind of being sheltered, I guess, from what everyone else is living like.
How do you consider yourself to be privileged if you consider yourself to be privileged?
I consider myself to be privileged because I live in a nice house, drive a car, have food on the table to eat, while other people don't. And yeah,
Do you believe in affirmative action?
yes, I do.
Do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and that people should be colorblind to race?
Without a doubt.
Do you believe that people of color have the right to be angry with Trump supporters?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Are you racist?
No.
How do you consider yourself to be privileged?
Well, I didn't really do anything to get like born to the parents I was. I have like a pretty solid family, solid area. Get to go to college, which is pretty cool. Got my health, yeah, all that pretty much.
What is privilege?
I'd pretty much just say like things you haven't really worked towards yourself that you kind of are given, or yeah, just more easily attainable.
Do you believe in affirmative action?
Well, I don't know too much about it, but from what I think I know, yeah, I think it helps out certain people, especially more like the when you get into like the socioeconomic, where it's like kind of from lower areas. So yeah, I think it's solid.
Do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and people should be colorblind to race?
No, I don't think so. I think you just take away too much in like the culture and everything if you just kind of throw everyone in one pool. So I think it's pretty good for people to be unique, but I think it's more important to have like understanding and acceptance of everyone.
How do you feel about Trump being our president?
I was surprised, but I can see why he got elected. I mean, there's a lot of people who weren't happy. So I mean, me personally, I'm just hoping it works out for the better. I think hope people see the bigger picture, kind of rally together instead of getting up in arms about who won the presidency.
Are you racist?
No.
What is privilege?
Privilege is the ability to have something that other people normally wouldn't be able to. Privilege is also something that can be earned. It's not necessarily right, and also privilege can be something that can be taken away from you.
How do you consider yourself to be privileged, if you consider yourself to be privileged?
I do consider myself to be privileged. I'm very privileged to be able to have a scholarship to attend this wonderful university. I'm very privileged to have a very blessed family, very caring, and also friends and general support, like a great support system here at Tech and away from Tech.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe in affirmative action?
Yes and no, actually. I think affirmative action is required in certain circumstances, but other times, no.
Do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and people should be colorblind to race?
I think all people the first part of the question, yes, to a certain extent, there are limitations to that. For example, felons or people who have committed crimes and criminals, I don't think should be treated the same way as other people. But in regards to being colorblind, yes, we shouldn't be necessarily biased towards one race or another, or we should just be impartial to races and treat everyone the same.
Do you believe that people of color have the right to be angry with Trump supporters?
I think that goes to a certain extent because being an American citizen, or just being an American in general, regardless of your racial background, you have the right to have an opinion, and you couldn't, as an American, you have the right to just have a different opinion and does not agree with Trump and his policies and ideals and platform, but I don't think it's necessarily fair for people of color just to hate on Trump supporters just because they agree with Trump's ideas.
Are you racist?
No.
How would you define privilege?
Privilege is when advantages to a certain group of people are allotted over other groups of people who are equally deserving.
Would you consider yourself privileged, and how?
I would consider myself privileged over third world countries, not over the standards of America, because I have things like central air conditioning and lighting that are constant.
Okay. Do you believe in affirmative action?
Yes.
Why?
I believe it's a supplement to balancing privilege. I don't think it's a replacement for the problem.
How do you feel about Trump being elected as our future president?
I feel that the rise in his, I feel like his rise in output in media has sort of grandized the scare and maybe overemphasized a fear that might be misfounded, but the fact that there is a fear over a newly elected position is a justified fear in itself. And I feel that if he actually has economic clout as a business leader and worldwide owner of companies, then he should use it. Otherwise, political decisions should be held with great compunction.
Do you believe that people of color have the right to be angry with Trump supporters?
I feel like we have the right to be angry initially, and I feel like Trump supporters have the right to debate if given, so to defend why they supported Trump. Because I feel like you can support people partially in their initiatives and not socially as a person. I feel like those are separate things.
Are you racist?
No.
Do you believe in affirmative action?
No.
Why not?
Because I just think it's not fair to everyone.
Are you racist?
No.
So do you believe in affirmative action?
Yes.
Why?
Because something that I like to say is if you have two balls and one of them you let roll down a hill like hundreds of years before the other ball, and then like maybe 60 years ago you let the other ball start rolling, that ball will never catch up to the other one unless you give it something to help it. And so I would say that's, white people, and then the other ball that's behind is, African Americans or Hispanics or, other people, different races.
Okay. So do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and people should be colorblind to race?
Yes, everyone should be equal, but the whole I don't see color thing that a lot of people say is really hard for me to get my head around, because most of the people who say I don't see color, they're people who are privileged anyways, and so they say they don't see color, but they're above that. So I think, yes, we can notice our differences, but kind of, I guess, embrace it more.
Okay. So how do you feel about Trump being elected as our future president?
I feel really scared for my friends who are of different races, especially Muslim friends. I mean, that's not a race, but different religions, mostly for my reproductive rights. I'm really afraid of that, especially with Mike Pence as his vice president. So I'm afraid. I'm not happy about it at all.
Okay. So do you believe that people of color have the right to be angry at Trump supporters?
Yes, they do. Even though I have a few friends that are Trump supporters, and they are good people, I feel bad knowing that they cared more about the fiscal and economic issues that Republicans like Trump supported more than condoning or condemning his other things, his social issues that I think are more important. Personally, to me, social issues are more important, but these people seem to think yeah, he said that shitty stuff, and it's shitty, I acknowledge that, but it's more important to me to care about economic and fiscal issues. But to me, I'm I feel bad that they just don't care.
Okay. Do you consider yourself to be racist?
No.
Do you believe in affirmative action?
Yes.
Do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and people should be colorblind to race?
They should be seen as equal, but I don't like the term colorblind, because you still need to acknowledge that somebody is a person of color, but then it doesn't make them any better or worse than somebody else.
Okay, so how do you feel about Trump being elected as our future president?
I don't know the answer to my question.
This is trying to be different.
Okay, well, I can honestly say I didn't do enough research to have an opinion one way or the other. But personally, I would rather him be president than Hillary, just because of some of the policies of his that I have seen.
Are you racist?
No.
What do you define as privilege?
Having an advantage over a certain group of people.
How do you consider yourself to be privileged if you believe that you're privileged?
I believe I'm privileged because I was born in the United States and I was given the opportunities that my parents weren't.
Do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and people should be colorblind to race?
Colorblind to race, I believe in a perfect world that should happen, but our world isn't perfect and some people are disadvantaged and they should be given things to set them even.
Okay, so how do you feel about Trump being elected as our future president?
Terrible.
Do you believe that people of color have the right to be angry with Trump supporters?
Definitely, because even though Donald Trump may not do all the bad things he said he's gonna do, he is still inciting a terrible and dangerous environment for minorities.
Are you racist?
No, I don't think so.
So what do you define as privilege?
In terms of white privilege, I feel like it's just that, I mean, you don't not suffer if you have privilege, but it's just that you have a better chance of having a better experience in life. Like, okay, you could be a white person that grew up in a trailer park, but you still have more opportunities than a black kid in Chicago, I guess is the best I can explain that.
So do you believe that you have privilege?
No.
So do you believe in affirmative action?
Yes.
Do you believe that all people should be seen as equal and people should be colorblind to race?
I don't think people should be colorblind. I think you should acknowledge color, because saying you're colorblind is basically like saying you don't care that someone is a different race than you, in my opinion. But I feel like, I mean, everyone should be equal, but you should still acknowledge that people are different.
So how do you feel about Trump being elected as our future president?
I'm not as surprised as everyone. Well, I mean, all of my white friends keep saying they're so shocked, but like, I'm not as surprised. I mean, growing up as a black person in America, you kind of already know that a lot of people hate you and people like you. So, I mean, it's appalling, but it's not shocking to me. Yeah.
And do you believe that people of color have the right to be angry with Trump supporters?
Yes, definitely.